I'm gonna get canceled if I say it. Who thought that that was a good idea?
Hello, welcome. Are you ready for some celeb updates? Fasten your belts. Kim Kardashian must have heard the whispers getting a little too loud, seen the comments piling up, and decided we were all due for a little clarification. Or at least her version of it. Because after years of letting the rumors swirl, after letting the internet build its own wild narratives about her past, she finally sat down and decided to address some of the most controversial, most talked about chapters of her life. And let me tell you, it was not what any of us expected. We're talking about the photo shoot with Justin Bieber that should have gotten her canceled. The cryptic passages in Travis Barker's book that suggest a romance nobody wants to talk about. And, of course, the ever-present, ever-complicated shadow of Kanye West. This is Kim Kardashian trying to take control of the narrative, and the result is a masterclass in saying a lot without really saying anything at all. So let's start with the one that really has everyone's jaws on the floor, the Justin Bieber of it all.
What is something you probably should have gotten canceled for but didn't?
I know what it is, and I think I'm gonna get canceled if I say it.
You're like, I'm not bringing that shit back up.
Like, I don't know who approved this, and I don't know who thought that this was normal, this narrative.
I feel like this moment was supposed to be about Taylor Swift.
Photo shoot with Justin Bieber, and he was 16 years old, and I don't know how old I was. And it was like a play. His girlfriend was there, his parents were, I mean, it was like nothing creepy at all. But I look back and I'm like, that's the one thing that I feel like, you know, he's like a good, dear friend of ours and the whole family. But like, who thought that that was a good idea? You know, I must have been 30 years old, you know?
I could see that. I could see that getting murky.
But it was a story of, what's that story with the teacher and the student? The graduate.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I just feel like that was nothing ever weird, was obviously happening. And like, I just think that was like an odd concept, and why none of us thought that that was odd at the time. But now we look back and I'm like, that would have not been the most appropriate thing.
Right.
Wait, but I'm
Now, for those of you who might be new to this particular slice of internet history, let me set the scene. It was a photo shoot from over a decade ago. Kim was 30 years old, a fully grown woman, and Justin Bieber was 16. 16. And these weren't just any photos. They were intimate, they were romantic, they were styled to look like a couple in love. He's leaning in, she's looking at him with this gaze. And for years, the internet has been screaming from the rooftops about how wildly inappropriate this was. And now, Kim is finally being asked about it. She was asked to name a moment in her career where she should have been canceled, and she pointed to this. She actually acknowledged it. And I have to say, that in itself is kind of shocking. How often do we see a celebrity, especially one from that inner circle, actually look back at something from their past and admit, yeah, that was wrong? It's almost refreshing, but then you start to think about it. You start to really listen to how she's answering. And the question that immediately pops into my head is, why now? Why is she choosing to address this now, after over a decade of silence? Is it a genuine moment of reflection, or is it a calculated PR move to seem self-aware and humble? Because let's be real, the court of public opinion has been in session on this for years. And the verdict has been in. This was weird. It was creepy. And the fact that Justin Bieber himself once said, and I quote, "And that brings us to the next bombshell, the one that involves family, and that makes everything so much messier." Travis Barker. Now, if you've read Travis's book, you'll know there's a section where he writes, very plainly, about his connection with Kim. He talks about going to dinner, going to lunch. He says, and this is a direct quote, "You might think I would be doing the worst things with this girl because of her tapes, but it was the exact opposite of any other encounter I've ever had with a woman. With Kim, I wanted to be nothing but a gentleman to her." He goes on to describe how they'd hang out at her family's store, how she'd come to his house to go swimming, how they watched 4th of July fireworks together.
In the past, have you ever hooked up with Travis Barker?
No, I never have. Absolutely. That I do not mind you asking.
Okay.
I never have. And
Okay.
that really sucks that that has gone on. But he dated Paris and we were all friends and we'd all like hang out. And when I was with Paris, we'd be on the road and go to like their tour in Amsterdam. And like, so I have been friends with him, but never like.
I mean, come on. That sounds romantic. That sounds like dating. Now, Kim was asked point blank about this, and her response was a swift, firm denial.
Trip, and he wrote about how he went bike riding with you, Kim.
Like in that way and never, never hooked up with him.
Did you have any heads up that you were going to be in his memoir, like reference as the crush?
No.
Okay.
No. But it would.
See, she can't deny that. She's
But the way she denied it, it was so cold, so concrete, so emotionless. It was almost scary how little feeling was in her voice.
We never hooked up. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he would allude to that
Agree.
information,
Okay.
you know? But also, Courtney was around during that time. So, like, they were neighbors for a decade. So, like, when everyone was all hanging, like, he was always around with his kids. They'd always come to Courtney's house for all the birthdays. So it was like everything was super, like, open and cool and like one's been friends. He was just as good of friends with them as he was.
She didn't laugh it off. She didn't seem amused by the absurdity of the rumor. She just shut it down with this icy, pre-programmed finality. And that, to me, is a red flag. When someone is telling the truth, there's usually a little more texture to their denial. There might be a laugh, an eye roll, a hint of frustration. But when the answer is this polished, this devoid of any human reaction, you have to wonder what's hiding beneath the surface. And let's think about the context here. This is her sister's husband, Courtney's husband. Can you imagine how uncomfortable that must be for Courtney? To have this story out in the world, printed in your own husband's autobiography, and then to have your sister deny it in such a robotic way? The whole dynamic is just so messy. And it gets even messier when you connect the dots to Paris Hilton. Remember, Paris and Travis had a thing back in the day.
I mean, I raised the kids, you know, full time. I also protect them when, you know, it's time for that. And it goes in waves and phases and it's, you know, a lot of work. But like I said earlier, like I have the best memories and the best relationship, you know, with my dad. And even like, I love that, you know, I see Tristan puts, you know, their kids to bed every night and takes them to school every day when he's not, you know, in season. So I just welcome healthy relationships, but it's not easy.
When was the last time Kanye saw the kids?
And Kim and Paris had a massive, years-long falling out that nobody ever really got a clear explanation for. If there was any truth to the Travis and Kim connection, even just a flirtation, it would make perfect sense why that friendship with Paris imploded. It would all fit together. And Kim's blanket denial? It feels like it's not just for her own image, but for the sake of family peace. To publish a lie in a book is a huge deal. Travis Barker and his publishers would be opening themselves up to a massive lawsuit.
For them and ask, it's probably been a couple months since we've heard from him. But
How do
yeah.
you handle, because it's all on you in those moments, the disappointment, if any, from the kids? Like, how do you explain those moments to them?
They always knew that he had a big life traveling before and was always on tour and all of that. So it's, and that he lives in different countries all the time and loves to live all over the place. So, we manage it really well. Like they love like their life and their routine and their schedule. And I think just their job as their mom is just to make sure that they stick to their routine and they're healthy and happy. And, you know, look, it's not easy no matter what.
So, did they just make it up? Or is Kim the one who isn't being entirely truthful to protect her sister, to protect the family brand, to avoid a world of drama that would explode if she even hinted that there was a sliver of truth to it? I don't know about you, but I don't believe her. I just don't. And then, of course, there's the ever-present specter of Kanye West, the father of her children, the man she built an empire with, and the man who, according to Kim, is just not in the picture right now. When she spoke about him, it was with this careful, measured respect that felt more like a PR strategy than genuine emotion. She said he's not currently involved, that he's basically forgotten he has kids. And that is just so heartbreaking. Think about those children. North, Saint, Chicago, Psalm. They're just kids, and their dad is off in another country, huffing balloon gas with his new wife, completely checked out of their lives. And Kim, to her credit, is trying so hard not to bash him. She's taking the high road. She's being the respectful co-parent, at least publicly. But you can feel the tension, the sadness, the frustration simmering just beneath the surface of her words. She's saying so much by saying so little. And it makes you realize that for all the glitz and the glamour, for all the billions and the private jets, this is a woman dealing with the very real, very human pain of her children being abandoned by their father. It's a reminder that no amount of money can shield you from that kind of heartache. She's carrying the entire emotional load for those 4 kids, and she has to do it under the blinding glare of the public spotlight, all while maintaining this facade of being unbothered and in control. It's a lot, and you have to give her credit for that, even if you're critical of her in other areas. As a mother, she seems relentless. But that's the thing about Kim Kardashian, isn't it? She's a paradox. She can acknowledge the inappropriate nature of a past action, making her seem self-aware, while simultaneously delivering a denial about another topic with such cold precision that it raises more questions than it answers. She's a master of controlling the narrative, of giving you just enough to feel like you're getting the truth, while carefully walling off the parts she doesn't want you to see. This entire interview was a performance, a brilliant, calculated, and fascinating performance. She addressed the rumors we were all talking about, but on her own terms. She gave us answers, but they were answers that felt focus grouped and legally vetted. So, did we learn anything new? Maybe. We learned that she's uncomfortable with the Bieber photo shoot. We learned that she will vehemently deny anything with Travis Barker. And we learned that the situation with Kanye is as sad and complicated as we all suspected. But the real story wasn't in the answers she gave. It was in the pauses between her words, the look in her eyes, the carefully constructed wall of calm she put up to survive the questioning. She's not just a reality star anymore. She's a stateswoman of her own empire. And every word, every breath is part of the strategy. And love her or hate her,